Hey, what's up? Silas here. So, this is going to be a short video. I'm going to try to keep it short, but this is the article I'm going to be reading. I'm going to leave a link, not a link, but I'm going to take a photo of this so you guys can read it as well. But it's about three different religious people. This is from the Sunday paper here in Kenya. It's a Sunday magazine. I mentioned this in a previous video that I'm going to read this. You might have seen that or not. But anyway, I'm just going to read this because I thought this one title was very interesting and I haven't read it yet. Maybe it might be better to read some of these things before I make the video. But here we go. This is the title. Okay, what I believe. Some choose their faith, others are born into it. What do you believe in? Three people share their reasons they subscribe to their faith by Gardi Chacha. Okay, so the first one, which I'm guessing is by this Muslim woman, not being racist or sexist. She's wearing a full-on hijab. Is it a full-on hijab? I don't know. It's a full-on. If you're not watching the video, she's wearing the full one with just the eye slit, the kind of like baggy ninja type thing with glasses on top of it. But yeah, so here we go. Men are born with a disease in their hearts, and I shouldn't provoke it. This is Arafa Osman, a Muslim. I was informed too when I first fused my life with the practice of Islam through faith and deeds. Before I was merely a faithful, having been born into the faith, today I'm a believer. My faith requires that I adhere to a specific lifestyle. Nothing captures my point better than dress code. I am covered up from head to toe. When you look at me, the only body part that you see is my eyes. Here's why. I am a Muslim woman. I am not supposed to show skin. This is because any amount of skin is likely to provoke lust from men. Men are born with a disease in their hearts, and that disease is lust. If a woman does not cover up, they will provoke the disease to flare up. My skin can only be seen by my husband. It is only my husband who is allowed to have contact with me. Other men, unless they are closely related to me, like my father, are not permitted any kind of contact, including handshakes. When I meet men and I decide to shake their hands, they probably wouldn't understand why, when I meet men and I decline to shake their hands, they probably wouldn't understand why, but a verbal hello should be good enough. Now, I know people may be wondering why I do this when they have probably met other Muslims with exposed skin. The truth is, one could be faithful but not a believer. Plus, people are in different places in their practice of Islam. So, I want to say some few things about this article. This thing, I don't know if you guys know what horseshoe theory is, or this thing of saying, like, politically, I think it mostly works politically, where if somebody is on the extreme right or an extreme left, they end up being in the same location. So let's say extreme right is up here, where they have certain advice or things that people want to do in politically. Then you go all the way this way, and extreme left, you'll be in the same kind of zone, but just with a few changes. Now, I'm looking at this, what this lady is saying, this female is saying. I don't say lady because I don't know her personally. I have no reason to think she's not a lady, like. But anyway, at least I know she's female. I think she would identify herself as a female. Well, she says about men that they have a sickness in them. They have this disease in them that they see skin and they're just like, it must attack, it must attack. Now you have the kind of situation where, to me, there is some questioning. I'm asking, do you think you are so attractive that just males in general will just be stricken by lust and just have to lust after you and paw after you and do that kind of thing? Now, are there maybe cultures and societies where that actually happened, where maybe that was the going thing? Or are they just saying it's not worth the risk for the 2% of men that are going to do this? Now you have a kind of situation where you have people on the left also talking about this, saying there's a rape culture, how men just need to be taught not to go out and rape women. They have this thing about them where they do this thing. And rape culture on one side in the West, saying men are just incorrigible beings that just rape, and they just can't control themselves and they need to be taught, they need to be curtailed in this way. Then you have, on the other side, the conservative side, which I'd say is more on the right. I don't say Islam is more. That's why you see, I think, a relationship between feminists, some more extreme and outspoken feminists like the Linda Sarsour type, with Islam in this kind of situation. Because some of those same people are talking about how the problem is not women, but the problem is something wrong with men. something wrong with the way men approach the world. That's the thing, that's the problem, that's the situation, that's the thing that needs to be dealt with. That's the point that you need to take and say, okay, we need to deal with that. Yet, in one situation, in the West, in the supposedly patriarchal West, what they're saying is men need to be curtailed. You need to take that issue to men. Yet in this other situation in Muslim world, in some Islamic faiths, they're saying women also need to take that burden onto themselves and physically cover themselves off so they don't actually get that kind of provoke that sickness, that disease that is within the hearts of men. So it's a very odd situation. And this also goes back to the situation where the devout people and the people who are not as devout. I mentioned this in a previous video. I don't know if it was a video that was taken down. I hope it wasn't. I'll double check. But there was a video where I was talking about how the different changes happen, how somebody can be more devout in a field, somebody can believe more fundamentally what the actual religion believes, and then they can say, okay, yes, these aspects of it, I'm just a believer. He says here, somebody can be faithful but not a believer. So somebody can be faithful and say, yes, I kind of follow X, Y, Z of it, but not A, B, C all the way to X. But somebody can be like, I follow everything to the letter. I don't know if there's actually anything in Islam that actually says you're supposed to be covered up. But for some people, like this lady, she seems to be really proud about it. In this situation, I don't know if you can find a situation. She hasn't said that much here. But some people will say that she's been forced to do this. But it seems she was in a situation where she was not covering up, and then she decided to take the plunge and go further into the actual covering up situation. She doesn't seem to directly be damning the women that don't, but I think there is an implied situation here where if you believe to be more modest is to cover yourself up in a certain way, and then somebody else doesn't do it, you are kind of saying that that person is not being as modest as you are. For example, if I think the right kind of outfit to wear is not to wear shorts when you go to a situation, and I say, okay, this is a situation where you should wear pants, and other people wearing shorts, those people wearing shorts are underdressed. They're being more immodest for the situation. That makes any sense. So yeah, I think there is a part of that where it could just be a general social shaming, that kind of situation where you have that kind of situation. But I don't know. So one thing that doesn't really mesh with that whole horseshoe theory thing, though, is you have a kind of situation where you might still actually get to this anyway, where you have these women saying, like, I can't actually interact with men at all. Men have this illness. Only men who are close to me, closely related to me, my husband, my direct relatives, fathers, brothers, can have that interaction, be the physical interaction, or I think they can also see them outside of the veil and things like that. But you have a situation in the West where they're pushing for these female rights, pushing for female environments, making female-friendly environments and things like this. And I think that's going to lead to a segregation. That's going to be the similar thing like this, where men are going to be like, look, the best thing for me to do in general is to just avoid interacting with women. Avoid interacting with women in the workplace, avoid being in places with women in seclusion without other people supervising. That whole Mike Pence rule where he says, I'm not going to go to dinner with a woman unless another man is there, another person is there. I'm not going to be in a room alone with a woman. People just have that general thing where they say, if I'm at a workplace and a woman comes into my office, I'm going to leave the door open. And in the past, they also had that whole thing where growing up, you could not have a woman in your dorm room, for example, unless the dorm room was open, at least one foot had to be on the ground at all times. So that kind of thing, I think you're coming back to that situation where some of the things that feminists are pushing in the West are going to lead to this similar segregation where here they choose, where she's chosen to say, like, I'm segregating myself from all men in my life. So you have that kind of situation where how would this person be able to truly function in a, I don't want to say, in a more Western type of society where it's a more co-ed, is co-ed only for education, co-educational, but a more gender or sexually mixed workplaces where it's not, the segregation isn't as strong, they can't operate in this situation. You can't have a situation where certain jobs you won't be able to actually do. Certain jobs, I think, benefit from you being able to see the person's face, being able to understand who's doing that. I don't think that many jobs you actually have to be able to touch the person, so I guess they are kind of situations, but it just brings up certain questions, and I thought that was kind of interesting. Okay, next, and this is not going to be a short video, I guess. I said I was going to try to keep it short at the start, but hey, I need to stop saying that. Anyway, so the next one is we work and give our salaries to the center. This is James Bowie, a businessman subscribed to the Opus Dei way of life. I think Opus Dei was that one that was in, not Angels and Demons, but the movie that came before that about the Vatican, about, spoiler alert for this movie, it was the one with Robert Langston being played by Tom Hanks in the movie. A lot of running. And there was this Opus Dei branch of the Catholic Church or something, this albino priest that was whipping himself and was going after, and I think they were trying to find Jesus's lineage, like familial lineage and stuff, and they found out that one of the characters, I think, was the child, or was Jesus was actual ancestor of one of the characters in there. But anyway, yeah, so that's where I heard of Opus Dei. So here's the article. Believers of Opus Dei are basically Catholics who have chosen to stick to a vocation and offer their life work to God. Whatever salary you earn goes to the Opus Dei. Some members choose to be celibate, a choice you live with forever. The celibate men, numeraries, and women, assistant numeraries, live in a communal center. Members must have an earning job. And since the celibates have no family commitments, they're expected to give all their earnings to the center. And if you are employed, you have to serve your employer with diligence. Some Opus Dei members have chosen to have families. I fall in that category. We are called supernumeraries. We live like everybody else in our homes. We have responsibility to our children, and we can't use family planning. I have 8 children. Unlike numeraries, we use our earnings to pay bills, but also contribute a significant amount, it has to hurt, to the work. We make need-based decisions. If there is no reason to eat food, for instance, you shouldn't eat. Supernumeraries also have to invest in their future. Numeraries will be cared for even in their old age, whether they will be earning then or not. So this is just another different way. I think religion and things like this have an aspect of social control and cultural backgrounds, where you have here where there's kind of a welfare system, a social security system provided through this community where you give and then they give back to you in your old age. Something here about we don't use family planning, I think is just the way he's talking here, because you still can use family planning. You can just not have sexual relations during the time. Like right here he says, okay, if you don't need to eat, you don't eat. Okay, if you know that enough, where you're like, okay, I'm not hungry, I don't have to eat right now, I'm not going to eat, then you can also know that during this window where my wife is more likely to get pregnant, I'm not going to have sexual relations in this time because we don't need to have more kids, so we're not going to do that. So family planning is not just condoms and vasectomies and morning after pills and things like that. So this whole like, oh yeah, we still control life, can't use family planning, so I have 8 kids. No. Calling BS on that. Like, no, you can still family plan without using prophylactics. Yes. Okay, this last one, we are all priests. Mburu Kinuthia, a member of the Akorino Christian Church. I was born a Catholic, but later joined the Akorino faith. I have been a member of the church for more than 20 years now. Every man in the Akorino faith has to wear a white turban. It is a priestly garment that we wear as the Bible directs. I don't have it on during night sleep. However, in the morning, before I venture out, I must have the turban on my head. A man cannot proclaim to be a member of the church and they don't have the turban. It is a mandatory regalia. Beneath the turban is a cap, which is in immediate contact with my hair. It is not dreadlocks, like many people may have wrongly believed. Women are expected to wear long dresses that cover them from neck to ankle. They should also have a headscarf to cover their hair, as the Bible instructs. Our women are not to show nudity through tight clothing. Our faith calls for decency. God instructs that we avoid eating unclean animals. Unclean animals are those that don't chew cud or have webbed feet. Clean animals can't be killed through strangulation. The animal's blood has to be poured out because This is because we don't drink blood. Organs that carry out a lot of blood, the heart, the liver, the kidneys, are all discarded through meat preparation. We follow our faith because in the end, we want to go to heaven. So right here, the Akorino Christian Church, this is one thing that I have been trying to point out to some people, is some of the aspects of Islam that people say, especially when it comes to the customs, the way they live their life, are similar to a lot of non-Islamic faiths. Like right here, they're saying they get this from the Bible. This Ocarina church gets the whole wearing the headscarf, wearing the turban. I don't know, it's this assumption of dreadlocks. I guess maybe they think people don't comb their hair in this kind of church or whatever. But the Bible directs it to wear the priestly garment. Where was that directed for in the Bible? I've never really heard that being directed that you should wear that. But I guess maybe the priests wear hats and things like that. But not all priests do. But I guess that's just the whole um, changes, modernization, reformations in the church. So some of these things may have been taken away. But right here, the key part. The women are expected to wear long dresses that cover them from neck to the ankle, and they should also have a headscarf to cover their hair, as the Bible instructs. Now, that's what I'm saying. These Abrahamic religions. Some people are a lot more fundamental into it, will follow it to the T and follow every single thing and find these things out of it. Like, yes, I'm going to take that. And then some people are going to be like, no, I'm going to leave that. I'm still going to be faithful, but not a believer, I guess, as they say. And this is maybe a key thing to what I was saying right there. If you're in the street and somebody says, hey, a car is coming, and you want to be alive, if you truly believe you want to be alive, and you truly believe in the person telling you that a car is there, you will move out of the street because you'll realize that if a car hits me, chances of me staying alive are reduced. So that's being a believer, I think, in that situation. And some people are maybe faithful, they're like, oh yeah, okay, it's okay, like I think it is, I have faith that I'll be saved or something like this, but they won't believe that that car will actually hit them. Because if you believe something, I think you act on it a lot more. And you have this kind of situation where, I don't know if they're the same things. Do you think faith and belief are the same things? Okay. But sorry, just trying to finish this up. I think this is interesting how the God instructs we avoid eating unclean animals, where this is another thing where I think the process of cooking the food here that he's talking about might just be similar to halal, which is what is done in the Muslim faith. So these people seem to be a lot closer to what Muslims live like, at least what typical Muslims live like in under a Muslim state, under a Muslim country, under Muslim edicts coming out from Islam. Yet these are member of an Ocarina Christian church. But this is what happens when you have Abrahamic religions based off of the same kind of time, the same kind of people, the same kind of area, the same kind of practicalities of approaching the world, organizing their cultures, organizing their society. The previous guy with the Opus Dei type stuff, I mentioned that with that, and the previous lady, first lady with the Islam wearing her outfit, wearing her hijab, the full covering. So yeah, what do you guys think about this? I really think that's a good point here. There was a video I wanted to make just showing how like Amish people, things like that, they're kind of wearing the same kind of outfits that you'd have somebody who is Islamic. So you have a situation where it's like, okay, somebody who's wearing the hijab is covered up in a certain way, yet somebody who's Amish or something from the back, in some situations they could just be having the same silhouette. And as an artist, when you're doing character design, a lot of the situations is, okay, it has to have an interesting silhouette, or you can tell the characters from just their silhouettes. And you have some certain situations where somebody's coming from the gym, or not even coming from the gym, just wearing the tight body-fitting clothing. And silhouette-wise, they are just showing their form. They're showing their nude form. And you have that kind of situation where that's a situation where I'm like, okay, that is something that is, it is advertising yourself. Now, I don't go as far to say, like what this lady said, where men are born with a disease in their hearts and they shouldn't be provoked. I don't think it necessarily provokes things. And it gets to that point where you're actually wondering, like, what is that situation? What is the situation of what are men reacting to? What is the kind of society if you had a situation where you just never actually saw your wife? Now, as I mentioned in a previous video, this whole idea of being able to pick who you're going to marry is a relatively new thing. In the past, you did have situations where you had arranged marriages where your parents or somebody else would have seen your wife, and the first time you see your wife is a few weeks or on the day of you actually marrying this person. It's not a situation where you had like, yeah, I'm going to pick, I'm going to see this person's body. So even if you have this kind of situation where you actually can meet the person and they're fully covered in the veil, you have the interactions with the person, would that actually build up more of your relationship with that person? What if you have it to be a situation where it's digital, where you can sit online and talk to somebody for years and years and days and days, years and years. Why did I say days and days after? But anyway, you can speak to somebody for months and get to know them without seeing their physical self, and then you get to know them in a different way. What do you guys think that builds up? What do you guys think the importance is with this whole modesty, this whole dress in when it comes to relationships, when it comes to that kind of situation? What do you guys think it applies for when it comes to relationships, the whole situation of not using any kind of birth control where you're just supposed to have kids when you're in a married situation. Be married or go forth and be plentiful, plentiful and prosper. Something in there. This is ending this here. Kind of petered out at the end there. But yeah, like, share, and subscribe. Links below to the merchandise store. I'll try to take photos of this. I'll see if there's actually a digital version of it. I don't think there will be, but if not, I'll take photos of this. You guys can check it out yourselves. But yeah, thanks for listening. Like, share, and subscribe. Goodbye.